Hello and welcome again to All Around Athlete and another daily dose of sports. Today is March 30th, 2021, and we're going to talk about some sports because new things happen every day. And I wanted to be the first to welcome you guys to my page. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Hunter, and I started All Around Athlete to give everyday athletes just like you tips and tools to make you better at sports. And I wanted to start our Tuesday off with a little daily dose of sports. And there's a lot of stuff happening in sports right now. First and foremost, we still got March Madness going on right now in the Elite Eight matchups. And so if you've been paying attention to the bracket, yesterday we had some of the Elite Eight matchups decided over in the South with Baylor and Arkansas. Baylor ended up taking down Arkansas, and then Houston outlasted Oregon State in their matchup, which ended up being really close. And later on today, we're going to see both the West and the East matchups with Gonzaga taking on USC, and then Michigan taking on UCLA. So we're coming down to the stretch here in the last couple games of the March Madness tournament. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens here towards the end. And moving right along to the NBA, who you guys got right now leading in the NBA? I know the Lakers won it last year, but it seems to me that kind of the new sheriff on the block seems to be the Brooklyn Nets. They have themselves a super team. There have been some super teams in the past, but nothing quite like what Brooklyn has been able to create. And let's just go down the list right here of some of the results of the games. The Washington Wizards beat the Pacers 132-124. Russell Westbrook had 35, 14, and 21 assists. Holy cow, that's a stat line right there. Pelicans outlasted the Celtics 115-109. There we go. The Brooklyn Nets, they beat the Timberwolves 112-107. James Harden had 38, 11 rebounds, and 13 assists. Another triple-double for him. I think while Kevin Durant is still hurt, nursing that, I think it's an ankle. Miami Heat outlasted the Knicks. Pistons take down the Raptors. The Grizzlies outlast the Rockets 120-110. Mavericks beat the Thunder 127-106. The Kings beat the Spurs. The Jazz beat the Cavs. The Warriors take down my Bulls. I'm from Chicago, so not always happy about that one. Curry again had a big night, 32 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. And the Clippers beat the Bucks. And, kind of back to what we were just talking about with the Brooklyn Nets. They are a team amongst a super team amongst mere mortals, I should say. Absolutely insane the amount of talent that they've been able to acquire. And I mean, just look at that trio right there. We got Kyrie Irving, we got James Harden, the Beard, and Kevin Durant. 3 of the more prolific scorers I would say the league has ever seen. Kyrie being one of the best performing point guards of all time in his ability to create space, make baskets off the dribble. A lot of times, in the history of the league, the point guard is more of a distributor, but Kyrie has separated himself as kind of one of a kind in that he could create baskets for himself, very much like an Allen Iverson, who Stephen A. Smith compared him to earlier last week. James Harden, of course, a prolific three-point shooter, and then Kevin Durant, again, MVP, Finals MVP from a couple years ago. This team is just stacked. It's unbelievable what could be accomplished by this team. And it started getting me thinking, we've had other super teams in the past. First and foremost, the big three, the first big three, the Boston Three Party in the early 2000s. Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen kind of changed a lot of the future of basketball with this team coming together. And then, of course, we have LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade coming together in Miami. I believe that was in 2010 when they first joined. And then, of course, famously, not 6, not 7, not 8. They thought they were going to win a lot more. Only ended up winning a couple down there in Miami. And then most recently, Kevin Durant joining Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson and the guys up in Golden State, which, in my opinion, to this day, is the weakest move in the history of modern sports. And I know that's some pretty bold statements to throw out there for your Tuesday, but let's just put it this way. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook had them beat the following year. They of course were playing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, had them in the Western Conference Finals up 3-1. Let the foot off the gas and let them single-handedly come back and beat them. And instead of rallying, licking your wounds, seeing what they could do better the next time, Kevin Durant, who has already won an MVP at that point, decides, why hate him? I'm going to join him. I'm going to leave this team that has given me everything I've had so far. I'm leaving. I'm going to go join the Golden State Warriors. In my opinion, it does not get any weaker than that, especially when all throughout the 80s and 90s, you had such team loyalty and fierce rivalries between teams. And it didn't matter. He wanted to go win a championship with the team that had just won the previous, I believe they won 2 out of the previous 3 starting in 2014. And not a fan of that move at all. And so to see what has become of the modern Brooklyn Nets, obviously you see LeBron there in the middle. He's not on the Brooklyn Nets. I think they're, with this image, they're just showing the overwhelming nature that it will be to try to overcome the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, just look at that right there. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin was signed to them a couple weeks ago. And then just recently, LaMarcus Aldridge from the San Antonio Spurs has been brought over there as well. I mean, look at that team right there. I know not all of them are MVP or even all-stars at this point, but they have that in them. I mean, that is a lineup, guys. Straight lineup right there. I don't know how LeBron and AD and the Lakers are going to be able to take down this just monstrosity in the East moving forward into the NBA playoffs. LeBron and company will be overwhelmed, to say the least. Moving right along to football. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but the San Francisco 49ers traded up in the draft this year to take the number 3 spot away from Miami. Originally, San Francisco was in the number 12 spot in the NFL, the NFL draft coming up here in a couple of weeks, and instead they traded with Miami to try to get that number 3 spot. And it started raising a lot of questions because San Francisco essentially put the farm behind their quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo just a couple of years ago, fresh out of the New England Patriots. He was Tom Brady's protege, kind of the apprentice underneath him, the heir apparent. The Patriots traded him to San Francisco, and San Francisco started to build around Jimmy Garoppolo, and they made a Super Bowl run. They came up short, and then last year it seemed like the wheels started to fall off. I don't know what's really going on up there in San Francisco, but it is definitely raising some interesting questions as to what could transpire here in the next couple weeks. And if Jimmy Garoppolo truly is still going to be the quarterback of their future. And so, yeah, I'm really curious for what you guys have to say about who is going to go where in the NFL draft. If you were to take a guess on who was to go number one, who would you guys pick? In my mind, I still think Trevor Lawrence is going number one. I pulled up right here this mock draft from CBS. First and foremost, experts believe that Trevor Lawrence is a lock in that number one pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, prolific quarterback, Heisman finalist, national champion at Clemson. Trevor Lawrence is believed to be the number one pick in the NFL draft, followed closely by Zach Wilson from BYU. We talked about him yesterday. An unbelievable pro day experience from him yesterday, and really this past weekend when BYU held their pro day. A lot of good stuff coming from him. But then number three rolls around, and this is an interesting one for me because, as we just said, San Francisco traded up in the draft to take Miami's spot with the number 3 overall pick. And many believe they're doing that because they're going after a quarterback. They're trying to grab a quarterback. They're not going to be left at the altar, if you will, while other teams grab their share of, in my opinion, one of the strongest quarterback draft classes we've had in at least the last 5 years, both with Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, and just a slew of others. It is an absolutely stacked quarterback year, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I really am. As for kind of the rest of the day and the show, I just wanted to say thank you for all the new subscribers and anyone who's on the journey with us. Here at All Around Athlete, you'll get tips and tools to make you better at sports, and I'm happy you're on the journey with me. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time on All Around Athlete. Have a good one.